Hello. Just checking in today. I'm on the road between Vancouver and Calgary, and just thought I'd say hello. Um, yeah, kind of stopped on a side road here, and thought I'd shoot my little video for the daily reading. It's going to be short. It's going to be short. I was just talking to a buddy on the phone, and opportunities come up. Lots of opportunities, and life is full of opportunities, really. I mean, it's just endless. The neat thing about opportunities, if we miss one or two or 10 or a million, heck, I remember the day a buddy talked to me about Bitcoin, talking about opportunities, and it was like, you know, $15 or something. I don't know. It was something ridiculous, and he said, buy Bitcoin, and I know this is kind of a different example, but it was like Bitcoin. This is like quite a while ago, maybe 8 or 10 years ago. Digital currency. So I said, no way. So anyway, life is full of opportunities, and why do we often say no to opportunities? We often say no out of fear, right? So my encouragement is to practice saying yes. Even if it seems crazy, you can always say no later, but say yes and see what flows. And the magic that flows is what we're interested in. This is the magic of life. So, yeah, it's the whole idea of being familiar with fear in a way is so that we can see when we're in it and begin to feel the difference between being in a yes, being in acceptance, being in love, being in, a sense of adventure, and watch where sometimes fear holds us back. I mean, right now in our community, we've had to change how we connect with people, because we don't get to go out so much, and we're not, going to events, and we're not seeing people at yoga, or we're not seeing people at dance, or we're not seeing people in the restaurants, we're not seeing people so much at the coffee shops, because we're all pretty much, staying to ourselves. So we have to find, either, we just don't spend a lot of time with people, or we find a new way to do it. And I'm suggesting that there's lots of ways to connect. And anyway, my thought was, it's always about bringing it to your attention. Where does fear keep us from telling the truth? How honest do we want to be? Sometimes our truth is, when an opportunity comes, and our truth is, yes, I want to do that. But fear says no, and so we don't. How many times have you done that? And it was like, oh, fuck, I didn't, why did I not do that? It was out of fear, whether it was a date or whatever it was, So just watch. And, what we're looking for is to be free. And freedom's available for everybody. I think that, the level of freedom that I've been living at, of just is so, amazing. And I think that if I'm anything, I'm an example. That's, if I can have this, if I can live, what I believe is life in my full potential, and I'm, without judgment, without judging myself or judging others, and, I think that I'm an example that anybody can, so that's my sharing for you. I mean, you all know, everybody knows. I know if you're, just watch the signs. If you're constantly in complaint, there's fear. If you're constantly in judgment, it's fear. You're running from ego. Your life is ego-based. When you're in kind of at a higher level in love, let's say, you're not judging people. You're not making quick assessments of, this is a good man, this is a bad man, this is a right person, this is the wrong person. I mean, you're living from love. So let's live from love, baby. and be free. And yeah. Okay, I'm going to read. I have to put the phone here, which seems like quite a long ways away, but and I'm going to read today's thingy. Today's the 18th. Look at that, of February, and we're going to have a quick look in here for the 18th of February, 22nd. There we go. And February's a bit of a short month, isn't it? Here we go. So here we are. I do my reading every day, so I'm glad you're here. And this is from this 24-hour day book. And I'm on the road, so it's kind of neat, in the trees. So this is from the book was written in the early days of AA, the 12 steps, and very early, and it was published in '54, but was written in the '40s. So AA, the big book came out in '39. The first people that got sober was June '35. So it wasn't very. AA was still in its adolescence, still in its early days. There was I don't believe there was any NA or CA at that time, or any of those other, now there's like 200 different other programs to deal with other addictions. NA, CA, SA, GA, EA, Overeaters Anonymous. I mean, it's just, there's so many. Chronic Pain Anonymous. There's just so many programs that are using this recovery program to lift us out. It's so proof that, the 12 steps has nothing to do with alcohol or alcoholism. It's all about freedom from fear and freedom from ego and freedom from trying to manage the show. That when we're running the show, it just doesn't work. And so here we go. After I became an alcoholic, so, and replace that with whatever, addict, whatever, addicted to gambling, whatever. Alcohol poisoned my love for my family, yes. It poisoned my ambition in business, yes. Poisoned my self-respect, yes. It poisoned my whole life until I met the 12 steps, AA. My life is happier now than it has been for a long time. I don't want to commit suicide. That's a good thing. But, it's funny, if you go into a meeting room, a 12-step meeting room, any 12-step meeting room, show of hands how many people have contemplated suicide. Everybody will put their hand up. And the other guys are lying. It's just because that's what happens. When, if we've got to the point where we're at a meeting, where we're in a program like the 12-step program, we have gone through lots of stuff. So this is not uncommon language for. Okay, I don't want to commit suicide. So with the help of God and AA, I'm not going to take any more of that alcoholic's poison into my system. I'm going to keep training my mind never even to think of liquor again in any way except as a poison. Do I believe that liquor, this is the question that goes with the thought for the day, do I believe that liquor will poison my life if I ever touched it again? Yes. For us, because there's not just the mental obsession, there's also the physical addiction that happens. When I drink, and I haven't in 40 years, but when I drink, my experience was over and over again, I proved it, so many times, I never know when I'm going to stop. So, when back in the days when I was in my drinking days, I was thinking, if I wasn't drinking, I was thinking about drinking, or I was thinking about not drinking, but that's the same, isn't it? And when I started, even though always I said it was, most often I started with the idea that I would manage it better this time. And I didn't. It couldn't. No matter what I said or thought or did, I would end up, finishing everything we had and finding more. More was my favorite word. Meditation for today. It says, I will link up my frail nature with the limitless divine power. I will link up my life with the divine force for good. I will link up my life for the divine force for good in the world. It is not the passionate appeal that gains the divine attention as much as the quiet placing of the difficult and worry in the divine's hands. So I'll trust God like a child who places its tangled skein of wool in the hands of a loving mother to unravel. We place God's we please God more by our unquestioning confidence than by employing Him to help. You know, in the writing in the 12 steps, often they objectify this idea of God, you know, with a him or idea of a separate being. And I think most of us realized after some time, I mean, we agnostics, Bill said, God either is or He isn't, either everything or He's nothing. So we need to have a concept. Mind demands a concept, but the truth is, when we experience the experience, we realize it can't be conceptualized. It can't be narrowed down to one thing. But for the discussion, for the languaging, we need to be able to call it something. You know, so we call it, you know, divine intelligence, consciousness, God. We call it, you know, universal intelligence. We call it a lot of different things. Father of light. Sometimes we just call it Father. You know, and but those are concepts. For any of us that want the freedom of that relationship with this consciousness, you know, concepts all get left behind. Eventually, all the concepts get left behind. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may put all my difficulties in God's hands and leave them there. I pray that I may fully trust God to take care of them. And that's the neatest thing. You know, as we grow in this awareness of this universal intelligence, which allows us to actually live in our full potential, because, you know, when I'm running the show from my intellect, you know, what am I going to get? Just a very limited possibility of life from my intellect. So, but if I let that go, you know, I mean, intellect's good. It needs to show me, you know, it helps me to drive or it helps me to do things. But I'm tuned into this universal intelligence that, like, I made an error today, huge friggin' error. Actually, I was at a gas station in Abbotsford, and I went to put some oil in the car. It really didn't need it, but I was going to put a little bit in. It was down about a half a liter. I was going to save the other half, and I went in and I looked at the oil, and it wasn't exactly what I wanted. So I said, "Oh, the heck with it," and I didn't do it there. And I dropped the hood on the car down and jumped in, and away I went, Abbotsford, and going through the mountains. The engine light come on a couple of times. I thought, oh, geez, what's that? You know, and as I got to Kamloops, this is just the craziest thing. As I got to Kamloops, my intuition said, pull over, lift the hood. You know, there was no oil light on. There was nothing. There's no sign to tell me. It was just pull over, lift the hood. It was like literally a voice. And I did. I pulled off the road. I pulled over. I lifted the hood, and I'd left the oil cap off. And this is just strictly, it's just intuition. It flows. It, you know, it says in the 12-step book that we'll intuitively know. And it was like, wow. And there was I thought, wow, well, holy Toledo. The cap was still sitting on top of the engine, and but there was oil everywhere. And so the Lordco, which is an auto store, was like, I looked up on my phone from where I pulled over, was 3 minutes. I pulled over 3 minutes away from this place, and so that's intuition. You know, I went and I was down like a lot. You know, I put in like 4 liters, but the car's fine, and that happens. We learn to rely on it. We learn to flow with it. We learn to say yes, 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 yes. So that's it. Anyway, love you guys. Thanks so much. No meditation today. Making time while the sun's still shining, and we'll talk soon. Listen, Monday nights we're changing our whole format from a meditation group to more of a sharing group where people can come on and talk about what's going on in their life, more of a connection group on Monday nights, and we'll do a short meditation at the end, but more of a connection group. So I want to invite you to join us on Mondays at 7 o'clock. on Zoom. It's a closed, anybody can come, but it's not going to be aired on Facebook or YouTube or recorded even. It's just really like a sharing group, and where we can come and talk about how things are going in our life, or be as vulnerable as we want, and we'll be committed to the confidentiality and yeah. So yeah, an open sharing group. Okay, love you guys. Thank you.